The fashion design process, how to make your fashion line. The first 9 chapters are what it takes to make one sample of your design to try to get one large order. Chapters 10 through 17 are what you have to do to produce the large orders if you get them. And this applies whether you're trying to get an international retailer like H&M to buy your line or you're selling one at a time on your website. We can't overemphasize the importance of an experienced fashion designer. Remember, even the simplest t-shirt is a 3-dimensional object that is produced by precision machines. An experienced designer can save you thousands of dollars in manufacturing and materials and actually make a garment that sells. Trying to make a garment without a designer is like trying to build a house without an architect. You start with rough designs and then tighten them down until you get investor, buyer approval. They have to be tight enough to make cutting patterns. You can cut the flat 2-dimensional panels for your 3-dimensional garment into a million different shapes, but the most common places to put the seams are rarely the best. Another reason for designers. And once you design the patterns, you produce them in actual size on paper. And now you pick your fabric, but just enough to make one sample garment. Now you're ready to cut your fabric into a shape that matches your paper pattern. And you sew one sample of your design. The fit model doesn't need to be glamorous. They just need to be the right size. Their job is to help you determine if what you conceived in your mind actually looks, feels, and moves like you imagined in real life. If your baby doesn't, then go back to chapter 1. When your baby finally does look like it should, hire a fashion model, a gorgeous one. You'll need pretty pictures to sell your baby. When you finally materialized the garment that you envisioned, now you're ready to work with a model to produce marketing materials.
I'm naked, I'm numb, I'm stupid, I'm staying. And if Cupid's got a gun, then he's shooting.
Unless you're J.Crew and have a 10 million person subscriber mailing list or social media fan base, fashion marketing does not go directly to the end consumer at this point. You go through wholesale showrooms, like the ones in the LA Mart, New Mart, and California Mart. They already have relationships with the buyers from Nordstrom's, Nike, Gap, H&M, Zara, and more. If nobody buys your line, go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. At least you only bought 5 yards of fabric. Grading is where you scale your fabric cutting patterns to fit extra small to XXL users. This is harder than you think. Is your intended XXL wearer going to be chubby or athletic? You're extra small? What will look thinning and flattering in every size? You'll have to test it to know. This is what happens when you use a standard computer algorithm. Markers mark how your cutting pattern and where your cutting pattern lays down on your long sheets of fabric. Butting your fabric pieces up against each other as close as possible minimizes the amount of fabric that you have to purchase. When you're done designing your markers, you print them out on large sheets of paper that match the exact size of the fabric that you're going to place them on top of. Again, the importance of an experienced designer becomes clear. The angle you lay your pattern down on your fabric will make a huge difference in both the look and feel of your garment. All woven textiles are much stretchier and forgiving along the bias than along the grain, and an experienced designer who has lived and moved for days in his creations is best suited to make this call. If you're not sure what I just said, try pulling a napkin from its corners and from its sides. If you pull from the corners, it's far stretchier than if you pulled from the sides. Now look at your shirt. What angle is the grain? Is it in a plus shape or an X shape? Would it be more comfortable if the fabric was rotated just 45 degrees? And again, notice how much fabric you save with good marking. A tech pack is the complete architectural blueprint for making your garment. Did you know that there are 28 different types of stitches? A tech pack tells the machine operators exactly what to do, where. Now that you've got your big order quantities from Zara or Etsy, you're going to need a whole lot of fabric. You might even be better off getting the textile plant in Bangladesh to custom make fabric for you. But the trouble is that textile and clothing manufacturers require a large security deposit to start working. Zara, Nordstrom, Forever 21 won't give you an advance. They are net 90. So you'll probably need a factor to short-term finance the entire production. Yes, we can introduce several of them to you. And now that you can afford fabric, you might want to buy a lot of it, because textiles are just like fine wine. You can't ever exactly duplicate last year's production. This is where you're ready to cut the fabric from rolls into sheets to match the markers that you've already printed out. And then you cut the fabric to match the patterns on the markers. Now you're ready to sew. And sew. And embroider. And sew. And sew. When you finally got 10,000 units of your final garment, you can start hand finishing. You can even apply dyeing, washing, and sanding treatments. And all this happened because all the right buyers were impressed when they saw your samples.